Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. The Ministry of Coal has initiated India's first ever pilot project for underground coal gasification in Jharkhand. UN unveils global principles to combat online misinformation. Pakistani delegation to inspect two hydroelectric power projects under Indus Water Treaty. Tamil Nadu illicit liquor tragedy has claimed more than 50 lives. The price of inaction, the global, private, fiscal and social cost of children and youth not learning report released. Ministry of Mines launched fourth tranche of auction of critical and strategic minerals in New Delhi. In our very first news, the Ministry of Coal has initiated India's first ever pilot project for underground coal gasification in Jharkhand. This landmark project aims to revolutionize the coal industry by employing in situ coal gasification. Coal gasification is a process that converts underground coal into valuable gases such as methane, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide. During gasification, coal is partially oxidized by air, oxygen, steam, or carbon dioxide under controlled conditions to produce a liquid fuel known as syngas. Syngas, or synthetic gas, is a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen and produce gaseous fuels like methane. Syngas can be used for power generation, methanol production, etc. One of the significant advantages of coal gasification is that it provides access to coal resources that are economically unviable through traditional mining methods. It ensures the sustainable and efficient use of India's vast coal reserves, which are the third largest in the world. This process can potentially reduce India's dependency on imported fuel, crude oil, and natural gas by 82% and 45% of total requirements, respectively. However, there are several challenges associated with coal gasification. The technology required to convert India's low-grade, high-ash coal into syngas is lacking. Additionally, the process generates a significant quantity of waste, including black water, and requires costly systems for carbon dioxide removal. It also produces more carbon dioxide compared to conventional coal-powered thermal power plants. To address these challenges, the Indian government has taken several initiatives under the National Coal Gasification Mission. The mission aims to achieve 100 million tons of coal gasification by the year 2030. The government has also allowed 100% foreign direct investment in coal mining and introduced a viability gap funding scheme to promote coal or lignite gasification projects. These initiatives underscore the country's commitment to developing advanced technologies for coal gasification, reducing reliance on imported fuels, and promoting sustainable development within the energy sector.
In our next news, the United Nations has just unveiled a set of global principles designed to combat online misinformation. Digital platforms have become a hotbed for misinformation and disinformation, primarily due to the rapid advancements in artificial intelligence. These technologies are generating false information at an unprecedented speed and scale. According to the Global Risk Report 2024, misinformation and disinformation rank among the top 5 global risks. One of the key issues is the opaque algorithms used by digital platforms. These algorithms create information bubbles that reinforce prejudices, including racism and misogyny. Health-related misinformation is another major concern, leading to misinterpretation of scientific knowledge, polarizing opinions, and escalating fear and panic. To combat this, the United Nations has introduced the Global Principles for Information Integrity. This set of 5 principles aims to address the widespread harm caused by false information on the digital platforms and provides a holistic framework for multi-stakeholder action. These 5 principles include societal trust and integrity, public empowerment, healthy incentives, independent, free and pluralistic media, and transparency and research. The UN has also specified some recommendations for different stakeholders. Technology companies should integrate safety and privacy from the design phase to delivery, evaluate their business models, and modernize their content. AI actors, including government and private sector, should ensure their systems are safe, secure and trustworthy and respect intellectual property rights. Furthermore, news media needs to ensure information integrity, maintaining transparency and engage in human rights responsible advertising. And lastly, state and political actors are encouraged to promote transparency, political participation, capacity building, and access to information. In conclusion, the UN's global principles are a crucial step towards curbing the spread of misinformation online.
Ahead in the news, let's discuss the recent developments concerning the Indus Water Treaty, specifically the inspection of 2 hydroelectric power projects by a Pakistani delegation. This inspection is part of the neutral expert proceedings under the Indus Water Treaty, focusing on the Kishanganga and Rathli hydroelectric power projects. The Kishan Ganga Hydroelectric Power Project is a run-of-the-river hydroelectric project that diverts water from the Kishan Ganga River to a power plant in the Jhelum River Basin in Jammu and Kashmir. The Ratli Hydroelectric Power Project, on the other hand, is situated on the Chenab River in the Kishtwar district, also in Jammu and Kashmir. Let us first start by understanding about the Indus Water Treaty signed in 1960 between India and Pakistan, with the World Bank as a signatory, allocating the western rivers Indus, Jhelum, Chenab to Pakistan and the eastern rivers Ravi, Beas, Satluj to India. Under the treaty, India is permitted to construct hydroelectric power facilities on the tributaries of the Jhelum and Chenab rivers, albeit with certain restrictions. The current disagreements between India and Pakistan are primarily related to the design features of the Kishan Ganga and Ratli hydroelectric power projects. It is noteworthy that the World Bank is not financing either of these projects. The IWT provides a three-step dispute resolution mechanism. The Permanent Indus Commission, which meets at least once a year to address questions about the treaty's implementation, the neutral expert who deals with unresolved differences on water sharing, and the Court of Arbitration, a 7-member arbitral tribunal that handles disputes. Despite the structured resolution mechanism, several issues persist with the IWT. There is a lack of collaboration and mutual trust between India and Pakistan, and the regular data sharing planned in the treaty is not being adhered to. Moreover, the treaty has largely been limited to conflict resolution rather than fostering interaction, trust, and cooperation between the two countries. In conclusion, while the IWT has been a cornerstone in the management of the Indus River system, it is imperative to build upon this framework to enhance collaboration and trust between India and Pakistan. In our next news, a tragic incident has recently unfolded in Tamil Nadu, where an illicit liquor tragedy has claimed more than 50 lives. These deaths have been attributed to methanol or methyl alcohol poisoning from illicitly produced hooch or spurious liquor. Hooch, a term commonly used for poor quality alcohol, sometimes contains methanol and industrial alcohol, along with ethanol. Methanol or CH3OH, also known as wood alcohol or spirit, is traditionally produced by the destructive distillation of wood. However, modern methods of preparing methanol are based on syngas, a mixture of hydrogen and carbon monoxide derived from biomass or other sources. If we talk about its characteristics, methanol is a colorless and fairly volatile liquid with a faintly sweet, pungent odor. It is completely mixable with water and acts as an antifreeze agent. Methanol has several applications, including being used as a solvent in paints and varnishes and chiefly for making formaldehyde. It can also serve as a biodegradable energy source. However, ingestion of even small quantities of methanol can cause blindness and large quantities can lead to death. The regulatory framework governing methanol includes the Food Safety and Standards Alcoholic Beverages Regulations 2018, which stipulate the maximum permissible quantities of methanol in liquors. Additionally, the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemical Rules 1989 include methanol in Schedule 1. Many states and union territories in India have prohibited the sale of alcoholic drinks, including methyl alcohol, as a preventive measure. Examples of such states include Bihar and Gujarat. To prevent such tragedies in the future, there is an urgent need for stronger central legislation and tighter control of the interstate methanol supply chain under various laws such as the Poisons Act 1919. Ethanol or C2H5OH is another type of alcohol which is obtained commercially by fermentation, with the oldest method being from sugars. Ethanol is a colorless liquid used as a solvent in the paint industry and in the preparation of numerous carbon compounds. It is also used as a renewable fuel. Ingestion of ethanol acts on the central nervous system, and in moderate amounts, it affects judgment and lowers inhibitions. In conclusion, the Tamil Nadu illicit liquor tragedy is a stark reminder of the devastating impact of consuming adulterated alcohol. It underscores the critical need for stringent regulatory measures, public awareness, and robust enforcement to prevent the recurrence of such incidents.
Ahead in the news, a critical report titled The Price of Inaction, the Global Private, Fiscal and Social Costs of Children and Youth Not Learning has been prepared by UNESCO in collaboration with OECD and the Commonwealth Secretariat. This report provides a sobering analysis of the economic and societal costs associated with educational deficiencies worldwide. The report reveals that out-of-school children and educational gaps cost the global economy a staggering $10,000 billion annually. Despite decades of effort, around 250 million children and young people globally remain out of school. Additionally, 57% of the world's children have not gained basic skill levels, highlighting a significant global challenge. Moreover, each year of secondary education reduces the risk of girls marrying and having a child before the age of 18. Conversely, female early school leavers are linked to a 59% increase in early pregnancies. Furthermore, reducing the number of early school leavers or those without basic skills by just 10% could boost annual GDP growth by 1 to 2 percentage points. The report offers several recommendations to address the growing concern. Improving school facilities, including providing single-sex water and sanitation facilities and reducing class sizes, is crucial. In India, for instance, the construction of toilets decreased the dropout rate of girls by 12 percentage points and that of boys by 11 percentage points. Comprehensive sexuality education and initiatives to support the mental well-being of students are vital. Aligning vocational education and training with labor market needs and addressing gender barriers to participation. If we talk about the initiatives taken to reduce educational efficiencies, globally education was declared a universal human right in 1948, and Sustainable Development Goal 4 aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Meanwhile, in India, the Right to Education Act 2009 ensures free and compulsory education for all children aged 6 to 14. Samagra Shiksha Program 2018 aims to provide holistic education from preschool to class 12. The National Education Policy 2020 focuses on comprehensive educational reforms. Other initiatives include PM Schools for Rising India 2022 and the PM Poshan Scheme, earlier known as the Midday Meal Scheme, which aim to improve educational outcomes and nutrition for children. In conclusion, by implementing the recommendations and leveraging key initiatives, we can work towards ensuring that every child and young person has the access to quality education. Ahead in the news, we bring you significant news from the Ministry of Mines in New Delhi, where the fourth tranche of auctions of critical and strategic minerals has been launched. This latest tranche includes 21 critical mineral blocks, featuring a variety of minerals such as graphite, glauconite, phosphorite, potash, nickel, phosphate, and rare earth elements. To understand the importance of these auctions, let's first delve into the realm of critical minerals. These elements are the building blocks of essential modern-day technologies. Their supply chains are often at risk due to limited global production and geopolitical factors. In 2023, the Ministry of Mines identified 30 strategically important critical minerals, including antimony, beryllium, bismuth, copper, and gallium. Transitioning to their significance, critical minerals are vital for economic growth. Minerals like cobalt, nickel, and lithium play a crucial role in the telecommunication industry and the manufacturing of electric vehicle batteries. Furthermore, rare earth elements are indispensable for green technologies, including semiconductors, solar panels, and wind turbines. On the national security front, cobalt is integral to military technologies, including smart bombs, aircraft, and precision-guided missiles. However, the journey is not without its challenges. The concentration of extraction or processing in a few geographical locations can lead to supply chain vulnerabilities. A prime example is the lithium triangle, consisting of Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia. Additionally, India relies heavily on imports of its silver and cobalt needs, predominantly sourced from China. In response to these challenges, several initiatives have been taken. The India-Australia Critical Minerals Investment Partnership is one such collaboration. India has also joined the Mineral Security Partnership, which aims to catalyze public and private investment in critical mineral supply chains globally. Furthermore, Khanij Bidesh India Limited is mandated to identify and acquire overseas mineral assets of critical and strategic nature like lithium and cobalt. In conclusion, the launch of the fourth tranche of auction of critical and strategic minerals marks a significant step towards securing essential resources for India's technological and economic future. The place in news for today is Philippines with its capital Manila. Recently, the Philippines ambassador said that BrahMos missiles offer a credible defense for Southeast Asian countries. If we talk about its political features, then it is an island country of Southeast Asia in Western Pacific Ocean. It is surrounded by Philippine Sea in the east, Celebes Sea in the south, Sulu Sea in the southwest, and South China Sea in the west and north. Further, if we talk about its geographical features, its highest point is Mount Apu. Its major rivers are Cagayan River, Mindanao, and Agusan. It has a tropical and monsoonal climate type.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. The newly elected members of Parliament of the 18th Lok Sabha have started taking oath. Talking about its constitutional provisions, then Article 99 deals with oaths of office of the MPs to be subscribed before the President or some person appointed by him. Central Civil Services Leaves Rule 2024 has been notified by the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. If we talk about its key amendments, then surrogate as well as commissioning mother with less than 2 surviving children may be granted maternity leave of 180 days in case of either or both are government servants. Kerala Assembly has passed resolution to rename state as Keralam. Procedure for renaming of state can be initiated by Parliament or state legislature. Moreover, renaming is governed by Article 3 of Constitution. Recently, a mutual fund was alleged to have indulged in front running. Talking about front running, it refers to usage of non-public information to directly or indirectly buy or sell securities or enter into option or future contracts in advance of a substantial order. IHO celebrates World Hydrography Day on 21 June every year to raise awareness about hydrography. Hydrography is the science that measures and describes the physical features of oceans, seas, coastal areas, lakes and rivers. Ministry of Mines has unveiled scheme for partial reimbursement of exploration expenses for holders of exploration license. The scheme's objective is to provide partial reimbursement of exploration expenses for exploration license holders from National Mineral Exploration Trust. India and the US held discussions on the co-production of American Javelin missiles in India as per reports. If we talk about Javelin anti-tank weapon system, then it is the world's premier single-man portable medium-range anti-tank weapon system. Srinagar has been recognized as a World Craft City by World Crafts Council. This recognition would boost the handloom and handicraft sector, benefit tourism, foster infrastructure development, attract greater investment and funding, etc. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Knowledge. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solution to today's quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.